Okay, this is working out perfectly. I'm very pleased that we've decided to go over this. And I think this is a really special poem. I think it's a really neat poem. It's a great, it's a great poem about love, and it's a fun thing to look at after Romeo and Juliet. I know it seems like the same thing, because it's more dead people in love, but this is a neat poem. Okay, so um, the paradox kind of these paradoxes continue, right? All right, how can you be remote and also not remote? How can you have distance but also no distance? In anywhere else, this would be crazy, but in them, it actually makes sense. Except in them, it were a wonder. Um, so the poem continues, and it's the same kind of thing. So between them, love did shine, that the turtle saw his right, flaming in the phoenix sight. Each Either was the other's mine, and mine here means like mine and yours. So between them love did shine. The turtle saw his right, flaming in the phoenix sight. The right, the sort of your rights to a person. Think about it like what you deserve. Um, the turtles can see the phoenix is everything the turtle deserves, and paradoxically, the turtle dove is everything the phoenix deserves. Each was the other's mine, meaning like you belong to me and I belong to you, right? That's the idea of love is this funny thing where somehow normally you think about ownership as being a one-way thing, right? I may own a book, but the book doesn't own me, right? It's my book, but that's not the book doesn't can't say that's my Jeff or whatever. Um, but in love, the idea is this person is yours, and you are theirs. It's a tricky. It's that complicated kind of two-way street thing. Um, one of the best statements I ever saw about love is from this TV show that I think I was the only person that watched the show, but it was called Sense8, and I really liked it. And one of the characters says about love, he says that love is paradoxically, again, it's the same kind of thing the poem is saying, which is that it's very complicated and contradictory. He says love is paradoxical because on the one hand, it's the most unselfish thing in the world. To love someone is to be unselfish because you just care about their life and their successes. And so it's very unselfish. But also, love is extremely selfish because when the person you love wins, you also win. And so you want them to win because they deserve it, nothing to do with you. You just want, when you're in love with someone, you want good things to happen to them, and you don't care about yourself, you just care about them. But also, they kind of are you. You are linked to them. You share a soul. If your partner is having a great day, you're going to probably have a better day, because that you're connected to them. If they're happy, you're happy. And so it's a sort of paradoxical thing where love means that lost my train of thought. Oh, that love is both selfish and unselfish at the same time because you want good things to happen to other people, not you. That's unselfish. But also, they are you. And so you want them to win because you win too, because you're them, because you share a soul. Okay. So, all right, so that they belong to each other. All right, so the poem keeps going, but boy, it's just the same thing over and over again. So, property. Again, property like math. Property is like what's correct. Again, think about like mathematics, right? 1 equals 1, 2 equals 2. 1 equals 2 is incorrect. It's true in love, but it's incorrect in math. Property is like the rules. So property, I know you think of property meaning land, but property can mean like what is, think about it as what is right and proper. What is proper to do? What is correct? And so the idea of being correct is property was thus appalled, meaning that the idea, like think about this as like the god of being correct, was appalled, meaning it was shocked and upset by these creatures, the turtle dove and the phoenix. Why was it upset? Because the self was not the same, right? The self should be the same, meaning you should equal you. But in this case, the self is not the same because the phoenix does not equal the phoenix equals the phoenix, and the phoenix equals the turtle equals the turtle, and the turtle equals the phoenix. The self is not the same because it's not one, it's two. All right, cool. So property was thus appalled that the self was not the same, right? It's like the god of being correct is shocked and disturbed, that because the situation the birds are in doesn't make any sense. The self is not the same. Single nature's double name. Neither two nor one was called. This is getting easier because once you get it, it just repeats the same thing over and over again. Single nature's double name. They have one soul, but two names, the phoenix, the turtle, but they are a single nature. They're connected to each other. Neither two nor one was called. They're not one because there's obviously two creatures, the phoenix and the turtle, but they're also not two because they share one soul. See, I'm just repeating myself over and over and over again. So, all right, this is going pretty good. We're going much faster now. It's going smooth. Reason in itself confounded saw division. So again, reason, just like number and propriety, reason is like logic. Think about this as like the god of logic. The god of logic in itself confounded, because these birds have destroyed logic because they're somehow both two and one at the same time. Reason in itself confounded saw division grow together, right? The whole idea of division is grow apart, you divide. But here, they're coming together, they're combining. Reason in itself confounded saw division grow together to themselves, yet either neither. Right? So they're the birds are themselves, yet they're also not themselves because they're also the other bird. The phoenix is the turtle is the phoenix because they share a soul. Simple were so well compounded. Simple there is being used in a slightly more complicated way than you're used to. Simple there means can't be broken down into smaller bits. So like the simplest thing we can think of in our world might be like atoms, which is like as small as, I mean, I know atoms are technically made of things. I don't know. The point is that it's as small as small gets. Whereas compounded is when you put different things together. So like, you know what's simple? Simple is when you look at the ingredients in food and it only has one ingredient. So let's say you go get fancy no sugar peanut butter, which is, by the way, fucking terrible. I like a lot of sugar in my peanut butter. But you can make peanut butter by just smashing peanuts together. It only has one ingredient, peanuts. That's simple because it only has one ingredient. Compounded is when you add other things to it, like salt and sugar and oil, but also jelly and bread. And now you got a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's compounded of many things. So simple means only one thing. Compounded means many things combined. Somehow the birds are both. To themselves, yet either neither, simple were so well compounded. Simple should never be compounded. Compounded is more than one ingredient, simple is one ingredient. So you can't make simple by compounding things because the definition of simple is only one thing. So again, same thing over and over again. It's both two things and one thing is the same. Love means that somehow you're both two and one. And the poem it's a complicated idea, and so the poem repeats it in several different ways. By the way, it's exactly what I do when I'm teaching. If I'm trying to explain something difficult, you'll hear me explain the same thing in lots of different ways. Because sometimes I'll explain something and people won't get it, and then I'll explain it a different way, and like half the students will get it. And then I'll repeat again with a different example, and the other half goes, oh, I get it now. So Shakespeare's doing the same thing. He's talking about something complicated, which is the idea that love is somehow one and two at the same time. And so he is trying to teach you what that means. But because it's very difficult, he says it over and over in lots of different ways, because one of those ways is going to make sense to you. Cool. All right. Reason in itself confounded saw division grow together. To themselves, yet either neither. Simple were so well confounded. That it cried. It is reason. So reason sees it's defeated, and it sort of yells, how true a twain seemeth this concordant one. Twain means two, one means one. So it's somehow how true these two creatures are also one creature. And then reason, think of it, this is like the god of reason or logic, just gives up. Love hath reason, reason none. Meaning reason, love makes sense. Reason, which is making sense, doesn't make any sense. If what parts can so remain. So basically the god of reason just gives up. He's just basically like, listen, you know what? This is so amazing to see these two birds, these two people in love that are somehow both two and one at the same time, that I give up. You know what? Because most people would say love doesn't make sense. Logic makes sense. But here, the god of logic says, you know what? These birds are so in love. That's the only sense there is. And logic doesn't make sense anymore. Only love makes sense. And so the god of logic essentially just gives up. And then the god of logic writes a little poem to end this poem. And that's what we'll talk about next time. Yeah, thanks for joining me.